Like we always do at this time, I go for mine, I get to shine. Now throw your hands up in the sky. Go for mine, I get to shine. Now throw your hands up in the sky.
Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of This Week in Startups. This is episode, Tyler, number? 6, correct. Tyler is keeping track. And thank you all for the incredible feedback. It's unbelievable. We're walking through the, this is a true story. Walking through the airport last night, Tyler and I did a one-day trip to the Valley, and somebody stops us and says, "Hey, I was just watching This Week in Startups on my flight." That's very cool. Thank you.
Power of the interwebs.
The interwebs, hot at work, and we've been traveling a whole bunch. We were in New York, another city, San Francisco, 6 flights in how many days?
City you're not naming?
Well, if you name that city, everybody knows the major companies in that city, and then there's a you know what I'm saying? Like if I say we're in San Francisco or the Valley, it could be one of 1,000 companies.
Right.
If I say that city name, then everybody goes, "Oh, you're meeting with that company. There's something going on." When really it's just like friends of ours who we meet with for business development stuff. It's not necessarily mean there's something like an announcement or some big thing going on.
That's a great point.
Yeah. So where's the Tyler cam? Is the Tyler cam working or not? We're supposed to have Tyler cam. Everybody, there it is. Wow, that looks terrible.
Wow, it looks green back here.
It looks like Tyler's like... Can we put Tyler back on for a sec? Can we possibly have a worse shot for Tyler? I mean, poor Tyler. I mean, no lighting. You look like...
Hey,
It looks like a 70s surveillance camera or something. I feel like I'm watching the conversation. Anyway, thanks to everybody who's been watching the show, supporting the show, and most of all, people doing the hashtag. That's great. So if you're on Twitter right now, pull up my screen. I sit here all during the entire show with this in front of me. Tweet your thoughts to #twist, This Week in Startups. And we can pull up my screen, Alex, and then we show people that we actually do read this. So on my screen right here, there you go. So I can also, I know how to use the zoom in function. There's a zoom in function, boom. I can actually go say, "Hey, Matthew DP," or William Bendel, or Dan Bodenstein, or KEF Foster. Oh, and that's cool. See, this is when it gets really cool. It's when KEF Foster thanks, before I even get to thank them, Ustream, DNA Mail, and WebSpy for sponsoring Twit, and also giving Audible and Squarespace a hard time for not sponsoring Twist. But that's a good segue into our thank yous. Thank you to WebSpy. WebSpy has been incredible. We should pull up the screen here so we can actually see their service. WebSpy has been incredible sponsoring the show, and I believe they just re-upped for another 10 shows, correct, Alex? Yeah, Alex says yes. WebSpy, thank you for supporting the show. Thank you for supporting entrepreneurship. It's a great product. If you want to have your employee productivity tracked in a transparent way, you use the software, and instead of you saying like, "Hey, you guys are spending too much time on Facebook," or you're screwing around on the blogs, whatever, on the blogs, blogs, you just show it to your employees, get to see it themselves, and they go, "You know what? I spent too much time on Facebook and Gawker today. I need to get some work done." So you sort of just create that open transparency. Of course, DNA Mail's been with us since the beginning. We love you guys over at DNA Mail. What idiotic person would ever host their own mail servers in this day and age when you're doing a startup company? It makes no sense for you to be in the IT business. So get out of the IT business, use Microsoft Exchange or Google. And now, what's going on? The new Apple software supports Exchange?
No, Gmail, you mean the iPhone? Yeah.
Well, the iPhone does, but didn't they announce that they have native Exchange support in the operating system you put, or is that just for iPhone?
Google now, between Outlook and Gmail, it's all supposed
Yeah,
to
no, but also at the Apple announcement, they were talking about Exchange working natively, so that's all good. And of course, Ustream, our sponsor and also provider, Ustream doing a great job. They did some sort of a deal with, oh, look at that. Huh, interesting, cute picture of me. It's good that they got us on the homepage, and we got 144 people watching live. Fantastic. So thanks to the 3 sponsors. To Audible, I don't know what's going on.
Well, they're not officially a sponsor.
They're not a sponsor. Everybody knows I love Audible. I do the Audible commercial on...
I think you have to stop
talking about
them on
Who's
your show.
Audible's competitor? I'm going to start talking about Audible's competitor, and then we'll get them as a sponsor. No, I love Audible, but they're not sponsoring the show. So everybody should shame Audible and say, on Twitter, Audible, how could you not sponsor Jason after all he's done for you on This Week in Tech? which is awesome. So, they talk about, Nessin J corrects me, you're thinking of Snow Leopard. Correct. Snow Leopard is now supporting all the stuff.
Right.
And wow, this is really great when all the folks who are watching thank the sponsors for sponsoring. But anyway, I think we're supposed to only have 3 sponsors on the show anyway. That's what we said in the beginning, and we're sold out. So I guess we could do a 4th, but when we're doing 2 hours of show, I guess 4 wouldn't be crazy. So we start every show with Ask Jason. But before I do that, we tried last time having the guest involved in Ask Jason. That worked pretty well, right?
Yeah, that was awesome.
So let me introduce our guest. I've been waiting to have him on the program. He's a new entrepreneur, first-time entrepreneur. I met him first at the TechCrunch 40 conference, where he launched Docstoc. Docstoc, a couple of my friends are investors in it. I think Matt Coffin's in it, and some other folks. I'm not an investor in it, but I think it's a very groovy company. And I've learned to really admire Jason. He's a very hardcore entrepreneur, very blue-collar, just roll up your sleeves, get to work kind of guy. Also has given me a tremendous amount of advice and gives back to the community. He hosts a local sort of meetup here in Santa Monica once a month. That's become very popular. Welcome to the program, Jason Nazar.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks for having me.
It's awesome to have you here. You've watched the show before. You know what you're in for.
I have.
Okay.
So am I here for the Ask Jason segment because you need another Jason? Are you only going to have Jason on?
Ask Jason squared.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go. Ask Jason. I just want to also make a point about details. I asked for some chocolate. I have a dark chocolate addiction. I don't know about you, but I just love this stuff. So I'm like, oh yeah, give me a couple of chocolate bars. And oh look, you can see fondue in the background down there. We can't zoom in on anything. I don't have a close-up cam. But anyway, this is this Scharfen dark chocolate.
Yeah,
Scharfenberger. So it's just quite ironic. I wanted to get one of these chocolate bars, but essentially I got like a pound of chocolate. This isn't like the little ones that you see. You know the little ones that everybody eats?
Yeah.
So I got like a brick of chocolate. This is literally, I don't know how many ounces, 9.7 ounces of dark chocolate. I think, fondue's in the dead pool. We'll get that later. And Taurus is down there. The dogs are in the studio. I have to watch. I had to babysit today. My wife was like, take the dogs. All right, so let's get our caller. The caller's name is Todd Hartle. Todd Hartle. Can we transfer that in here? Oh, there we go. Look at that. There's the graphic. Ask Jason. And here's somebody asking Jason. We'll just press the button here. Hello, Todd Hartle. You're on This Week in Startups. Are you there, Todd?
Yeah. Hi, Jason. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for calling in. You, I guess, emailed me directly for some advice, correct?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah.
So my question revolves around finding and bringing on a co-founder for my startup. I've been bootstrapping my company for the last 9 months. It's currently just me and a few freelance offshore developers.
Got it.
I'm looking to bring on a technical co-founder and wanted your advice on the best way to do that. For example, sources to recruit from, evaluation of potential candidates, and most importantly, compensation schemes, salary, equity percentage, vesting periods, what have you.
This is a very important question. How long has the company been in existence?
9 months.
And has it launched yet?
No.
Okay, so it's pre-launch. You've been working on it. It's not launched yet. You've been paying money out of your own pocket to fund it with developers from another country, correct?
Exactly.
And you're starting to realize, gee, this is going to get very expensive. I don't know the technology side so well. I need somebody to help with the technology.
Exactly.
Okay, so you're considering having a co-founder. Picking a co-founder, and there's, by the way, fondue in the dead pool. That's just hysterical. Go get Wikia. Good dog. Anyway, sorry, you, I don't know if you were watching the live stream, but the dogs just went in the pool. So this is a very important issue. My first company, I had no co-founder. My second company, I had Brian Alvey, who was on the first episode of the show. And on this company, no co-founder, but I did hire a friend to help with it. Mark Jeffrey, not quite a co-founder, but first employee. And apologies, your name is Joe Waltman. I had you mixed up with our homework caller who was on later, who did his homework. Did you do your homework? So it's complicated. Picking a partner for a business is like picking a wife or a husband, a spouse. It can be just like getting married. It can be challenging at times. Are you a married man, Joe?
No, I'm not.
You ever have a long-term relationship with another person? Live with them? That kind of thing?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's just like that, a partner. You're going to spend as much time with your partner as you did with that significant other, and you're going to be working with them all day long. So it's not like it's all roses and you're just going to the movies and going and have dinner and going to the park or riding your bicycles. You're actually trying to build something, and there's going to be disagreements and fighting. So you have to pick them really well. Now, since you were first in, you get a little bit more of the leverage. So you can go to that person and say, listen, I have no money to pay you, therefore you're working for sweat equity. And that would require a certain type of person who's got a financial situation where they can do that. You may find somebody who needs to get paid max money, in which case, if you don't have max money to pay them, you can't do that. And if you did have max money, you wouldn't be asking to have them as a co-founder. You would just hire them, I would guess, correct?
Exactly.
So you want somebody to work for equity for no money or some money. Am I guessing correctly?
Well, there's really two scenarios. There's one where no money. Obviously, that would imply more equity. And there's another scenario where I can afford to pay sort of an expense salary, where a few $1,000s a month kind of thing.
Okay. So this is going to depend. You're going to have to be opportunistic and open-minded. Different people are going to be at different points in their career. You may find somebody who's done 3 startups in which they say, "Why would I need you?" They're going to want an equal amount of equity as you have. You might find somebody who's been second fiddle to the CTO at a startup once, or is at a big company and hates it and has saved a little bit of money and wants to take a chance. So you're going to have to be fluid in what you offer them. It's not going to be one size fits all. What you're going to want to do, though, is, and you're going to want to have a decent startup attorney. Do you have a decent attorney who does your stuff yet?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So you talk to them. What you can do with your co-founder is say, because they're not really a co-founder because they're coming in 9 months later. So this person who you're going to bring on as a partner, but maybe not a co-founder, you can say, I want you to work for 2 years to get your equity. 4 years would be more common. You could start with 4. They get a 1-year cliff, which means they get no equity until they hit a year. So you tell, they may or may not go for that. You could go for quarterly. You could go for every 6 months. All different possibilities. But you don't want to obviously give them a bucket load of equity to start, because then if they leave, then the whole cap table, the capital structure of the company is screwed up. So you definitely want them to vest, and you're going to have to play it by ear as to what their value is on a percentage of the company. Right now you own 100% of the company. I think to get a CTO type person, if it was a funded company with a large valuation, they might get 1, 2, 3% of the company. If it was a startup and you were hiring them and paying them a salary, and it was a small company and they were pre-launch, maybe they would get 5 or 10%. It can range. So it really depends on the person and the opportunity and what you're willing to give up. I would say if you have somebody who's willing to work for free or for little, 1 to 10% of the company would be a range I would be comfortable with for them coming in. But it also depends on who it is. I mean, if it's Mark and Dreesen, you might want to give them more equity than you have. So there's a whole range of options. Jason, any thoughts on this?
Yeah. So is your bigger challenge finding the person or figuring out how to structure the deal?
Good question. Probably both, to be honest with you. I've found a few interesting people, but I'm not sure I'm in love with any of them yet.
Okay.
So I could certainly use some advice on the recruitment side.
So I actually had the exact same situation as you. There's a co-founder in Docstoc. He's our CTO, Alon Schwartz. He's incredible. And it's exactly like a marriage, and not being married. It was a pretty crazy experience to go through. So I had started the business while I was in law school and just kind of got it off the ground. One is you can meet someone really in any environment. So the way I met Alon is I had posted a question on LinkedIn, question and answers, saying I'm looking for a startup, CTO, a co-founder, and I got 30 people that responded. And if you are familiar with the Israeli culture and classic Israeli fashion, Alon wrote back, "Your search is done," and that was it. He didn't write anything else. So it intrigued me. But what we did is we worked together for 4 months, actually with no formal agreement. We just had a gentleman's handshake. We said, we're going to work on this together, and we're going to see how it goes. And I think that's very important, is if you don't know the person or have worked with them already, I would take steps to work with them and try to simulate what that environment's going to be like. And the fact is,
were they actually creating? Sorry for the interruption. Were they actually creating deliverables for you, or just whiteboarding and chit-chatting?
Deliverables. I mean, we were on the phone together. He was managing a team in India that I found that I was originally paying for, and we were doing the work. I mean, we were.
So that basically means he was taking the risk because you own the company.
Absolutely.
He had no agreement, so therefore he has no claim to it, and you were paying him, so he had signed some kind of employment agreement?
I wasn't even paying him. We just agreed that we were going to work on this project, right. Docstoc together for a couple months and see how it went.
Yeah. And this is, by the way, since you have a company already formed, a dangerous thing to do. It may have worked out for Jason, but then you get into intellectual property agreements. If you get in a fight, I would advise more clarity. It worked out for you, but when you got to the equity discussion, how did that occur? Is he equal partners with you, or did you say, I'm going to carve out this much equity for you? How did that work?
Yeah. So, I mean, we're co-founders, absolutely. Right. I mean, I had started the process a little bit along, and I had the idea and got it going, but, you know, he was there from the absolute beginning of the step. So we just sat down and thought what we thought would be an equal percentage split based upon what I brought to the table and what he brought to the table. Yeah. And we had already worked together for 4 months. So I do agree that the litigious side should be taken care of. If you have a company set up, I would have an agreement signed. I would have all kinds of, you want to have all kinds of out clauses, like if then. So if this person works for 4 months with you and then decides to leave, or you don't want them, how does the situation handled? But overall, I think that if you haven't worked with somebody, to give yourselves the time to work together to see if it's a good fit before you formalize the agreement is a valuable thing.
I think that's a great suggestion. And what I would say is, I do sometimes letter agreements with people if I don't want to go through a lawyer, which is, I'm going to hire you for a project to work for 3 months at this rate. If at that time we want to work together, whatever, and then both people sign the letter. It's just 3 bullet points. So that could be a good way for you to sort of maybe not incur all the legal expense of doing a deal before you know, and this is a great suggestion by Jason, is maybe work together for a couple of months. And I did that actually with Alex, who's producing the show and also working for Calacanis Conferences. I told Tyler when he hired him, and I think I did the same thing with Tyler when I hired Tyler. We'll just work for a couple of months and see if we like it, and then we can move to a more formal employment structure. So pay him as a consultant for 3 months. They get to try it, you get to try it, and then you can actually do the employee agreement. So I even do that for employees, let alone co-founders, because it's better for both parties. So that's a great suggestion on Jason's part. In terms of finding them, I love the suggestion of LinkedIn, going to events, and maybe picking startups in the kill zone. So if your startup is in content, look at the 20 top content companies, go on LinkedIn, go on Facebook, find the people who are at that company.
Mahalo question and answers.
Mahalo answers, any of those places, and then just ask them to go get a cup of coffee. And that's been my technique, is in terms of approaching people, working on a new project, would love to get a cup of coffee with you and tell you about it. If you do that, you'd be really surprised at how many people will just go meet with you. Just a 1-sentence email. Just would love to take you out for a cup of coffee and show you what I'm working on. But definitely poaching from an existing startup, especially startups that have been acquired. That's one of my big secrets. I'll go to a startup like, I don't know, Shopzilla or Internet Brands here in Los Angeles. These kind of companies, they've been around for a while. They've got hundreds, dozens of employees. They get bought or sold, business.com, whatever it is. Post-acquisition, there's people hanging around who are just like, why am I here? And that's a great place to get people from. So look at the TechCrunch acquisition, group, companies, and then maybe poach from there.
Good stuff. Thanks. So just in conclusion, so you think 10% is about the max that you'd give up?
It depends on where you're at as an entrepreneur. When I did the deal with Brian Alvey for Weblog Zing, I brought him on as a full partner. He took a mortgage on his house, and he worked for free for the entirety of the company, as did I, and I actually put some cash up. In that situation, I didn't, I was Jason Calacanis, like 2.0. I didn't have any money, I didn't have any investors, and I had very little clout. When I did Mahalo, I don't really need a co-founder. I can raise the money myself, and I can hire people and give them a nice chunk of equity. So depending on where you're at in your career, this is your first startup?
Yeah, pretty much.
If it's your first startup, you're in the sort of Jason bucket, I guess, and how I was in my last company. Yeah, you could go 50-50, you could go 20%, all kinds of different arrangements would work. You could even say, I'm willing to do 20% now. If it goes really well, I would increase it potentially, and we could talk to the board about that. So really depends on where you are in your career and how far along the startup is. It seems like you're not a pure startup because you've already started working for 9 months and you've probably invested some of your own money, maybe $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, I'm guessing.
Exactly, yeah.
And so you got a little bit more at stake. You could also say, you know what, for the $30,000 or $40,000 I've put in, I want to own 20% of the company in preferred shares, and then, sorry, the dogs are barking here. This maybe isn't such a good idea. But you should definitely at least get a video of it. So there's all kinds of different options with it. It's going to depend on the person. Work with them for a couple of months, and then make a deal with them is, I think, the best advice you're going to get out of the two of us for this point. I think Jason nailed it. Work with them for a couple of months, and then go from there.
That's great. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Awesome. It was great talking to you, and thanks for the question, and keep listening or watching or whatever people do with the show. We'll talk to you soon.
Will do.
Cheers.
Bye.
Well, that was great. Hey, can we give him a ticket to the TechCrunch 50 event on September 14th and 15th for free as my guest?
Sure. Done.
Is that, you got that, Alex?
Yep.
So, Joe, thank you for calling in, and we're going to get you into TechCrunch 50
That's pretty badass.
on me. He has a good question. Why? I mean, he's an entrepreneur. If he goes, he's going to meet some people. That's like a $1,500, $2,000 ticket. It's a nice thing to do. Hey, Alex, maybe we should do that for the other people who asked Jason on the other episodes. That might be a good incentive for people to ask Jason. Okay, well, that was really good. And so next on the program, according to the schedule here, is the interview segment. This is where you have to carry the weight. And
I'll do my best.
I wonder if we should get Fondue out of here, if this is going to become like... Just pull her up on the screen for a second here. Fondue, what are you doing in the Deadpool? You know the Deadpool segment comes later in the program, and she's trying to kill the shark in there.
She killed the turtle.
She killed the turtle? Oh, no.
That turtle was keeping Project Playlist alive.
Yeah, there's nothing going to say Project Playlist now. All right, so we'll just roll with it, I guess. If you hear barking in the background, I'm going to apologize for the dogs. Jason, you've been working on, I guess, Docstoc now for 2 years, come this fall.
Yes.
You launched at TechCrunch 40.
Yeah.
Tell me, how did you come up with the idea for it, and why did you build the company? Why did you start it?
Sure. So I was going to business school and law school in Southern California, and I had started a consulting company. I was a horrible student. I never went to class, never did my work. I was always trying to do something entrepreneurial. And so I used to, there was a small company of us, and we would write business plans for startups. And they always had needs for different kinds of professional documents. And I felt that a lot of times lawyers would charge you for things that were just templates. They were business documents that were out there. And I thought, this was mid-2006, there should be something like YouTube for documents where you could get anything you needed and people all over the world could post their stuff. And I just started working on it. I created this little schlocky PowerPoint presentation I showed to everybody in law school. I think it's on Docstoc. It's called The Genesis of Docstoc. You can see what I did. And I just thought that there should be a repository where you could find virtually any document online. That's what we started working on 2 years ago. And honestly, one of the big things that helped get our name out there is, we got picked by you and Mike to preview the company at TechCrunch 40, and that kind of gave us a launch pad for a first-time internet entrepreneur and someone down in LA to get out to a lot of folks.
Yeah, so tell us about that. So it was born out of a need, essentially. You had a need.
Yeah.
It was, a document library.
I was trying to find documents for my
templates,
clients.
Yeah. And there were other things out there, like LegalZoom is out there, I guess, and other paid services. What was it about those services that you didn't like that made you want to make your own?
Well, LegalZoom's a little different. LegalZoom's an amazing company, but they provide legal services with non-lawyers.
Okay.
So if you need to fill out a will, or you're going through a divorce, you need to do IP, they actually provide you your customized product. There were a lot of companies that were selling templates one-off, but what I thought was, it's a limited set. You don't really see what quality documents you're getting before you buy them. And so what I thought is, if you could leverage the power of the world, I mean, think of all the really cool documents you've got on your computer.
Yeah.
People would want access to the documents you have.
Yeah.
Now let's assume
Definitely.
the vast majority of those documents you're never going to share.
Of course
But
not.
we know all, social media and Web 2.0 is powered by a very tiny portion of the community, right?
Right. So if 0.1% of people decide to give it out, you got a business.
Exactly. So if a tiny percentage of the people in the world willing to share a tiny percentage of their documents, you have billions now of really valuable digital assets that can be shared by everybody. And if we're the distribution engine to both share all that content and to find it, I think that's a pretty powerful business.
And here, let's pull up the actual presentation. This is kind of funny. It was originally called something else, but Doc Library or something.
I had a couple names. The first was DocBrary. Then I had a name called Exhument, because I thought it was exchange and document.
Exhument.
And then someone said it sounded like
excrement.
Exactly.
And you thought, wow.
That really
and then so
freaking
here
blew.
That's
is
the shit right there.
So here we
That's the
have.
shit. Oh, that could have been our tagline. Wait, Tyler, did everyone hear that?
Yeah.
Exhument. It's the shit.
Yeah. So we just lost our iTunes kitty rating. We're gonna have to bleep all that out.
Yeah.
But anyway, here is your horrible presentation. That
It
was
was.
the ugliest thing I've ever seen.
With MS Paint.
With MS
in
Paint.
law school class that I did when I
so
wasn't
while
paying
you're in
attention.
class, you're supposed to be doing something, and
Yes.
you come up with this dorky presentation.
Yes.
And you start bringing it out to investors.
I almost used that deck for our TechCrunch 40 presentation.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been allowed.
Yeah.
We don't allow that.
I think in the Sequoia review you told me not to.
Yeah, I think you came in to.
I did, yeah.
But anyway, look how beautiful the site is now. And now the site's got zillions of documents on it, and it has become essentially a YouTube of documents. I run into it all the time if I'm on a TechCrunch post or somebody's got a legal filing. So why is this better than, say, people just putting up web pages? You know, you would think people just publish this on a blog or something like that. What is it about on a technological basis that makes people use Docstoc instead of just cutting and pasting something?
Absolutely. So one is, Tyler and I were talking about this the other day, is a lot of the sites that break out on the web are ones that are just easy to use. And so most people still don't have a blog or website, but everybody has documents.
Right.
So if you give people a dead simple way to share their content, and there's a benefit for them, like more promotion, money that they can make now on it, they'll do it. The other thing is a lot of times you need documents in a native file format. So if you're looking at a contract, you don't want to look at it in HTML and 10-point font.
Right.
You want it with its format that you can use.
Yeah.
Obviously, an Excel model is worth no good to you.
If it's in HTML versus Excel.
And people share presentations. They share classic books like Tom Sawyer. So being able to preview and share the document in its native file format is pretty important.
Yeah. And so take us through raising money for it. You just start, I mean, you're in business school.
Yeah.
A law school.
I was both, yeah.
Yeah. And so then you decide you're going to go raise money for this.
I did.
Did you go to your parents or did you go to like other business people? How did you break in? Because you were an outsider.
Yeah.
An outsider. Like, it's not like you were working at TechCrunch or in the industry or working at Yahoo and Google and had this idea. You were straight out of school.
Yeah, I was in school.
So you're in school. So how did you meet all these investors in LA and sort of network your way in?
Yeah. So the first thing I did, and I know you and I talked about this, is I put up my own money. I didn't have a lot of it, but I think that's really important whenever you're trying to raise money. Because if you're someone's like, hey, I'm going to go ask a bunch of people for money. So I had $20,000 left in my savings account. I put it all in. I maxed out my credit cards and took on $20,000 of debt. And then I took out student loans that my dad still does not know about. So thank goodness he's an 80-year-old Persian Jewish guy and is probably not watching the show.
Yep.
You know? But I have debt still from my student loan debt. So I took on as much risk as I could possibly handle. One of the things I did do in school, because I wasn't a really good student, is I was always setting up meetings with really successful rich folks.
Right.
And they got to know me over 4 years. So by the time I had an actual business I really believed in, they stepped up to the plate. So the first investor ever in Baidu, the chairman of the board of Baidu, was the father of one of the interns I had hired in my consulting company.
Wow.
And he said to me, I will give you $250,000 if you can raise another $250,000.
Ah.
So we got, I'd been introduced to Brett Brewer, who was one of the co-founders of Intermix, and he came in and invested. Robin Richards, who was one of the co-founders and the founding president of MP3.com, he had sold the company to, I think, Vivendi Universal. It was the biggest deal at the time for $400 million. He came in. The namesake of the Pepperdine Business School, the Graziadio family, the Graziadio School of Business at Pepperdine, came in. And so I slowly started.
So how do you meet these folks? You just met them through networking, or because I mean, people are watching the show going, I don't have any connections. How do I meet the guy who is the investor in Baidu? How do you meet these people?
It's as simple as what you said. I mean, if you just ask, people will respond. And I think the biggest mistake people make in sales and in startups is they just don't ask for what they want.
Right.
And so if you ask 9 out of 10 super successful people to meet with you, they'll probably say no, but 1 out of 10 will say yes.
Right, and that's what you're banking on.
Yeah, and I just spent 4 years in grad school. I literally think I stole the list of the alumni at Pepperdine that donated more than $1,000, and every week I just called and emailed one of them saying, could we get together for coffee? And I never asked them for anything. I didn't ask them for a job. I said, what can I do to help you out? And one of my secrets is, and I think it's a very good thing if you're in school, is I literally asked 500 people to be my mentor.
Right.
I was like a mentee whore.
Right.
I asked everybody to be my mentor.
Right. Can you help me? Can you mentor me?
But not even help, because help implies that they need to do something for you.
Right.
Like if I came to you and I said, Jason, I've looked up to you my whole life. You're amazing. I wish I could have dogs like you, a life like you. Will you be my mentor?
Right.
You'd have to be a cold-hearted bastard to say no.
I told Tyler no. He didn't listen. No. I get people who do that. Sometimes it's a little creepy.
Yeah.
Sometimes if somebody asks me nicely for advice, I help them any way I can. So I agree with you to a certain extent. If you don't come across as creepy and you're like genuine and you sort of say like, hey, I followed your career. Can I ask you a couple questions? Sure. So I did for the guy on the phone.
Absolutely.
The whole reason the show exists is, to be honest, the whole show is my way of channeling all of the people who ask me questions and ask for help. Yeah. This is it's more efficient for me to do the show once a week and answer a bunch of questions and discuss entrepreneurship than it is to do all those individual meetings because there's too many.
Absolutely. And you couldn't run a company doing that.
Exactly. It's just too much.
Yeah. So you just build momentum. So you get a couple of breaks. We had ended up closing $500,000 a week before we went to TechCrunch. So we announced TechCrunch 40 at the time.
Right.
And we got accepted even when it was TechCrunch 20, I think.
It was
right?
TechCrunch 20 originally.
Yeah,
It was going
and
to be
then
one day,
expanded.
20 companies.
Yeah. So
Then we got 600 applications.
Mike wrote the story about us that we raised funding a week before the conference, so that gave us momentum. And then, thanks to you guys, when we were presenting on stage, Matt Coffin, who is the founder of Lower My
Yeah,
Bills,
sure. Who's
one
in
of the
the
best
audience.
non-entrepreneurs, came up to us afterwards and said, hey, I'm interested.
Right.
And then he ended up closing our first round of capital.
Wow.
That's how we got off the races.
Amazing. And so tell me a little bit about, because there's a lot of people in the audience who I guess have applied for TechCrunch 50.
Yeah.
And we've got hundreds and hundreds of people who are applying. Take us through a little bit of that process. What was it like to apply, to get the phone call, to demo, to do the rehearsals? Walk us through what your memories. It's 2 years ago, so I know it's a little while ago. But take us through your memories up until the point at which you get on stage.
Well, it's one of the things that you don't easily forget. It's kind of like it's a little akin to getting a bar mitzvah or like some big event in your life when you're starting out.
Most people say it's like a bar mitzvah.
Yeah, I know, especially Gentiles like you. Yeah, you're very well versed in the Haftorah, Jason.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Although I do hear that you're an honorary Jew in a lot of circles.
Yes.
So
I've been told.
the experience overall, to start off with, actually whether you're there as a presenting company or just an attendee, is invaluable. So I'm going to kiss your ass a little bit because I actually think it's pretty helpful. The big thing is if you're not in, there's a tech bubble, there's a tech world, and there's all these inside players. There's you and Mike and Mark Andreessen and Ron Conway and all these people that help shape what comes out of tech. And if you don't know about that, or you're not a part of it, it's very, very hard to penetrate it. And so one of the things of having a conference like TechCrunch that brings together all the influencers of the Bay Area, which really drives technology, is you have instant access to all of them. So the main benefit that we got about being one of the presenting companies is we were instantly known. I got to know all the bloggers individually, and I got to go to drinks for them, and they would continue coverage for us. I got to know a lot of other CEOs. I got to know a lot of VCs. And so the process was pretty crazy. I was filling out the app for TechCrunch while I was supposed to be studying for the bar. So needless to say, that was not the smartest decision bar-wise. And I got a call. I actually ended up crashing a party during law school finals that Loic was throwing.
Loic.
Yeah.
Loic
and that's where I met.
Yeah.
That's where I met Mike for the first time.
Right.
And I tried to ingratiate myself and say hi, and he basically was like, "Who the fuck are you? Leave me alone."
Right.
And he ended up going for drinks afterwards with a bunch of people, like Julie Allison and a whole bunch of folks. And I just wormed my way in.
Yeah.
And we were there, and I was trying to talk to Mike, and I think I asked him a question about politics. It was the campaign what was going on, and he's like, "Why are you talking to me?" I was like, "This guy hates me." I'm like, "There's no way I'm ever getting into TC40."
No, he still says that to me, and I'm his business partner. So.
But then as I was leaving, he's like, "Oh, who are you again? Jason? Docstoc? Oh yeah, you guys made the first pass." And I was like, "Oh my God, you got to be kidding me!"
Right. So cool.
And then it was Alon, myself, in my living room at home, and we were waiting for the call, and it was an hour late to the call, as far as
setting up the time.
And they were going to review the product with you, and I was so nervous. My heart was pounding. I'm like, oh my God, I could be failing out of law school to get on this. What's going to happen? And Mike gets on the phone. He does a quick demo. He goes, "That's it. You guys are in," and hangs up. And we're like, what?
That's good.
And so we were just on cloud 9, and we tried to get ready for the presentation. Our goal was to try to launch at TC40.
Right.
We didn't, like most companies didn't.
Right.
But
it's getting better now.
Yeah.
Most people launch an alpha.
Yeah. But it was just an incredible experience. And a friend of mine, Orly Yakwo, who's a very well-known blogger in Israel, had flown out, and she drove up with us. And it was just one of those things that was, I can honestly say, at that conference was when I knew that I'd be in the web space the rest of my life.
Wow.
Because you just sometimes find something that clicks and you love.
Yeah.
Which
is really good for me to hear, because that was the reason we started it.
Yeah.
Mike and I started, what's that? Stall for a minute? Okay. It's a webcast. You don't have to worry, Alex. Just go in and fix his mic. So that's great for me in confirming, because we started the whole conference in order to give entrepreneurs a shot you would have never been able to afford paying 20 grand to demo, or if you did, you would have had to give them half your nut and what you were, going to use for your company. So
I'm a cheap guy. I would not have paid
you would not have paid for it. The
$20,000.
great companies would not pay for it. The great entrepreneurs would not pay for it. You basically have to be desperate to pay $20,000 to get 6 minutes on stage. But we started it exactly to let outsiders get into the event.
Yes.
And this is what some people criticize. Oh my God, you let PowerSet and you let Yammer and these guys who are insiders present. Yes, we have those, but for every one of those we have 10 that are outsiders. That it's their first company, and that's really where we try to.
There are a lot of little-known companies there that really no
first-time
one had ever
entrepreneurs
heard of.
nobody had ever heard of, and same thing with last year, and the same thing this year. We always try to give preference. We try to make it fair. I shouldn't say we try to give preference. I always try to, I can tell you from my side, give extra time to the first-time entrepreneurs, to the outsiders, people from outside the valley, people from Ohio or Japan or Korea. I may not they may not get in because they're outsiders, but I give them an extra 5 minutes maybe on the phone or talk to them a little bit and try to.
So do you have the
coach
keynotes lined up for this year already?
We're not announcing anything yet, but they'll be announced. Like every week, we'll announce something for the next.
The one
10
thing
weeks.
I will say is there needs to be a little more pomp and circumstance at the conference. It's got a real cool like loosey-goosey feeling, which is neat because it's like going along, and you and Mike have this neat banner. But one of the things is I think it needs to be a little bit more like theater. Start with like a big intro and then end like the way the conference starts and ends. It's like, ooh,
okay, we'll work on that.
It's such a.
We tried to make it. We tried to be an acoustic, stripped down kind of like let the company speak. So my feeling is always is the more pomp and circumstance we do, the less it takes away from the actual presentations. That's why we try not to do too many panels or other things that are extraneous to take steam away from the starters. But that's a good point. It would be cooler now that we have it's a third year. When we have the winner, we'll probably bring up two people. And this year we did a little
just
American
like if you're
Idol.
starting the Academy Awards, you don't want to start the Academy Awards and now the person that won for cinematography. It's like you want that show in the beginning.
All right,
you want,
so Tyler, can we do a musical number so that Jason enjoys TechCrunch 50 this year more?
I like it.
I would totally do a musical number. That would be hysterical.
I guarantee you, if you and Mike did a musical number, your tickets sales would double. I can promise you that right now.
That would be hysterical.
I will buy double the number of tickets.
Is there somebody like a fan of the show who can write a musical number for TechCrunch 50? Like, it's the best. It's the TechCrunch 50. They're here. They're ready to go.
So we can agree you're not going to write your number.
It's a da-da-da-da. That's TechCrunch 50. It'd be like a good. Somebody write that, and then I will sing it at TechCrunch 50.
I like it. I love it.
So the company's launched, and a great first question here from the audience. We'd like to let the audience ask some questions. Jose Maria Gil here asks, and you can see it up there, what is the business model of Docstoc? Is it a profitable company? It's a great question.
So
I'm assuming it's not profitable yet. You're investing.
Yeah, the company's not profitable now. We're growing it, but we'll be profitable this year. So
congratulations,
Mazel
Tov.
Yeah.
So that means you get profitable in year 2, basically, year 3, which is what a startup should do.
Yeah.
Year 3, you'll be profitable, break even.
Yeah, and it's profitability is less important overall in venture than growth, right? So if we have an opportunity to make $100 million top line next year, but still be unprofitable, that's probably a better decision than make $1 million top line and be profitable.
Right. So something people don't really understand when they look on it from the outside sometimes because of all the examples of things that make no money. But what's the business model?
Sure. So right now we're one of the fastest growing sites on the web. We have over 6 million people that have come to our site in the last 30 days. Over 16 million page views. So from that alone, we do pretty well in advertising. And because we deal on all these documents, one of the things that we'll be working on is we also make money through lead generation. And we'll be working on some things to sell documents directly and do subscription models. And these are all things that will be coming out this year.
Awesome. So multiple revenue streams from advertising to buying the documents, et cetera.
Yeah.
And how many people in the company now?
There's 11 of us full time.
Wow.
Yeah, we keep it lean and mean.
And if there was one thing that you could change about your business, one thing you could solve, it would be?
That's a great question. I'm pretty fanatical about getting more done with smaller amount of resources, and I still don't think we move quickly enough. And so one of the things that we always deal with is we have a very small dev team. There's only 4 of us. There's only 4 like dedicated people on the dev team. So we're constantly saying no to certain things. And I think in the past we tried to do too many things with too small a team, and it led to a lot of little distractions. So our big mantra in the company right now is do less, but do that one thing that has a chance to knock it out of the park.
Yeah.
And if I what I know now, I had known 2 years ago.
Right.
I think that we could have moved so much more quickly.
Right.
There's a lot of things that we wouldn't have done, that we wouldn't have built. And I would always just want the ability to build and iterate more quickly.
Yeah, speed.
Yeah.
Every entrepreneur wants to go faster. And what's the state of the company? You raised some seed, and then you raised the first round? Is that the...
Yeah, so we raised an original seed capital of $750,000, and then we did our first venture round, and also Cameron Porzanjani, the co-founder and CEO of PriceGrabber, came in that round.
Great.
And so we've raised $4 million total up till now.
Right. And
Rustic Canyons are
Rustic
VC.
Canyons, great VC.
They're fantastic. They're great.
And how you raise more money, you think, or is it just right now with the market down, not a good time to even think about that?
We get people poking around a lot, and we've had offers for people to put in more money. I'd like to see how far we can go on this round of capital.
Right.
So if we can not only become profitable, but we can really find that revenue model that's going to grow 25%, 50% month over month without having to raise more money, you always want to do that. Because quite honestly, too, I don't want to take I would love to take somebody's money and say, hey, give me a cash, and I'm just going to use it to multiply this revenue model. I couldn't do that now. Right now, I'd say, if you give me a lot of cash, I'm going to still try a bunch of things.
Right.
So if on this round of capital, I can kind of find a winning formula for us, and we can discover how we're going to, 5x our revenue next month, and then I can just spend money into that, that would be the best reason to raise more money.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So we have a question here from Chris This on Twitter, and he is asking, does Docstoc offer private document sharing? Is private document sharing something you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So not only do we offer private document sharing, but we've got one of the coolest features around for it. It's not the mainstay of the company, so but you can upload any document privately. One of the problems that we wanted to solve is that a lot of times when you send your documents to people, you don't actually ever know if they've read it, or you don't know who they're sending it to. So when you upload documents privately to Docstoc and you share them with anybody, you've got a little private log to see who's viewed it, who's downloaded it, who's emailed it to other people. So the best case scenarios, like think of a situation where a VC is asking you to send you their business plan deck.
Right.
And the question is, did you ever really read this? And who are you sharing this with? Because I don't want my deck to be passed around to all your friends so that they can find out what I'm doing.
Right.
So when you upload your documents privately to Docstoc and send them out to anybody, you can restrict who they can send it to, and you can have a little private log that no one else sees to see if they've actually viewed it.
Right. And do they know about that or no? It's just sort of like a hidden little, your own statistics?
Well,
I mean, anybody could build that into a web page, so it's not really that big of a deal.
We're not, our main focus is a site where you can find and share any document publicly. We want to be the largest repository in the world of publicly available documents.
Right.
But since we get so many people uploading documents privately, it was just one of those features we wanted to throw in.
Yeah. So if you have a question, just put #twist on the end, and I'll try to get to it. Here's a great question. We got two great questions backed up now. So you knew this question was going to come up. What's the difference between Docstoc and Script? From Kay Stenson. I guess this is your Google to your Yahoo or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's another company similar to ours in the Bay, and they started a little earlier than us. Really smart guys, great technologists. I know the founders there pretty well. They're focused a little bit more on the book world and publishing. They're a lot more focused on kind of content from book publishers. We're much more focused on professional content. So we're really more for small businesses, entrepreneurs, startup audience. We get all sorts of content, but we've really carved out the niche that if you need professional documents or you want to share them to get something done, you come and you use us.
Right.
If you're looking for a book from a Random House or Simon & Schuster, they're probably a better place to go to.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Another great question here. How did Docstoc get initial user traction, i.e. through link building, social media marketing, AdWords? And that's from Jeremy Campbell, one of our loyal readers, listeners,
So
watchers.
The bottom line is you got to hustle.
Hustle.
Yeah, you got to hustle for every user, and I think one of the biggest mistakes people make on the web is they think they're going to build something and people are just going to use it. And every once in a blue moon, you just build such a great product and it comes out of the bay and it takes off, but that's not the way it works for most of us.
Right.
It's not the way it worked for us. So one is because Docstoc has so much content generated, we get a lot of traffic, the majority of our traffic, through natural search.
Right.
So if you upload a document called tips from Mahalo, and then somebody searches in Google or Yahoo or MSN tips from Mahalo.
Yeah. So it's
takes us.
SEO, and then you got to do something when that traffic hits.
Yes.
Yeah.
So to start off, we got a lot of social media traffic. So we got often on Dig and Reddit and StumbleUpon. That kind of built up like our first 200, 300,000 followers. And then people started seeing us more, and we had more people contributing, so it built more and more pages indexed in Google. The other thing that's a little different about our site is we're a content site, right?
Yeah.
But unlike an About.com or eHow, we have a lot more people signing up for us every day because someone wants to take something. So we have a digital object somebody wants. They don't only want to consume information, they want to take something.
Right.
So we were the first company to say, hey, okay, if you want to download this document, it'll be free, but you've got to sign up with us. And so we really quickly built an email base that we were able to send messages to and say, hey, you downloaded this document, we think you might like this document.
So email marketing, subscription wall to build up traffic.
Yeah, so we relied on social media, we relied on the ability we were able to collect people's email addresses, and then just as more and more people contributed documents, we built more and more traffic.
Great. Let's see. Okay. A lot of good questions. So if you have a question, just put a pound twist at the end. And very good. Let's.
Can I ask you a question?
Of course you can.
So one thing I always is curious is, so I had met you a couple times. The first time I met you actually was when you did the screening for us for TechCrunch 50, and I just heard about you on all these blogs. This like crazy entrepreneur, and people either loved you or hated you.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
And then we had known each other for a while, and it was a couple months that we finally got to sit down like one-on-one for dinner.
Yeah.
And honestly, when we did, I was totally blown. One, you were extremely generous for your time and advice. I thought you were like one of the shrewdest guys I ever met. But when someone meets you for the first time publicly, you've got kind of a wall up. Like, you're not like, hey, shaking somebody's hand, how's it going? Like, is that like a New York thing? Is that a choice thing?
Gosh, I don't know if it's a conscious choice or anything like that, but when I go to an event, typically 100 people corner me to shake hands.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to, frankly, have an hour-long conversation with 100 people when you're at an event for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's sort of one of those things where just like so many people are coming up to you,
much.
it just becomes too much. You can't really say too much. And then if I'm trying to actually have a conversation with somebody, like I was trying to talk to Steve Gilmore at this TechCrunch party yesterday, I couldn't talk to him for a minute. I mean, I guess this web celebrity thing is blown up into a little bit of a thing, but
you're also pretty watchful. Like, even when someone doesn't think you are, like, you're kind of sizing somebody up in your head.
Yeah, I have a little bit of a Terminator thing. I like to know. I have a pretty good instinct of if it's a good person or a bad person. But there's a lot of flow coming in of people trying to meet with us or talk, and so you have to process it. And you just look for cues as to, is this a good person or a bad person? And I'm pretty good at sizing that up, but I am a little cautious when meeting new people. Because you never know like who you're meeting and what their agenda is. So I think I try to be nice to everybody. I try to give them a little bit of time, but it does get a little bit exhausting. But that doesn't mean people shouldn't say hello. If I'm at an event, just come up and say hi. I'm a normal guy. Put my pants on one leg at a time like anybody else. But I try to do dinners and stuff like that and be approachable. You know, I put my phone number out. I put my email out. I put my Skype out. I mean, I think I'm probably one of the most approachable CEOs out there.
Well, I also noticed like you respond to like a lot of, you're kind of like Mark Cuban, like you respond to like emails, and you're always you're pretty amazing about interacting with people. It was just something I noticed when you meet people in public for the first time. It seemed like you were a little guarded.
I try to be a little guarded. Yeah, you know, you don't know who the person is and what exactly they want to do. So yeah, maybe in a personal interaction. I've had also like borderline stalker kind of people, and so I'm a little cautious. Like, you know, there was one guy who waited outside the office for a couple of Fridays in a row. It was a little bit weird, you know, like waiting outside the office is a little nuts. Even if the person wasn't nuts, it just was odd. So I'm a little cautious, you know, who I meet or whatever. But, you know, I have Tyler with me at almost all the events. So what's good for people to do is if there's too many people around me, they can talk to Tyler a little bit. And if it's something
Aren't you like a 10th millionth degree Taekwondo black belt?
Oh, of course I am, which is one of the reasons why I'm a little wary sometimes in public of too much. I mean, Mike Arrington.
You don't want to have to open a can of whoop and like show your skills.
No, it's not that. I just know Actually, I just know how fragile situations can be, you know, and how quickly, you know, things can go off the rails with people who maybe are a little nuts. But it's. I think it's good to be a little bit cautious, you know, like when you're meeting new people and then get to know them. I like to let them go through Tyler, do a meeting, then I meet them, it's more efficient. Like if they get to meet Tyler, Tyler sizes them up, if there's an opportunity to work together or not, and what that is. But yeah, I mean, I like to be available. I go out to a lot of public events and drinks and stuff like that. We actually have open dim sum when we go, and blogger dinners every city we go to. So, I think I'm approachable. I'm sorry if I was a little cold to you.
No, it's just.
I think it was just you, frankly.
It probably was.
Yeah, you're probably like, here's my business plan. Am I on TechCrunch 50?
I have a tendency to wear down people. Like at first,
I think that's actually. I think the wear down is a good. If you're, I can tell if somebody is a nice person, but they're persistent. I can tell.
Yeah.
And if somebody's persistent, but they're not a nice person, I can also tell. It's really it's very subtle cues and how they do what they do. But if you write an email and you're gracious and nice, whatever, but if you write the email like, you didn't respond to my email, I've emailed you 4 times, and here is my life story, it's like, well, what
there should literally be an etiquette handbook, because there's a way to be persistent without being pushy.
Exactly. And so I would say that you and Tyler have a way of being persistent but without being pushy. Tyler would post comments that were intelligent on my blog. We met, we became friends, whatever. And that's the right way to do it, is to actually maybe just be a normal human being. So like you and I had a couple conversations. You emailed me and said, oh, hey, here's some advice for something you're doing. And I was like, well, that's actually pretty good advice. It was very nice of him to take the time to write that email. And you just did it again when we launched Mahalo 2.0. You wrote like a 20-point bullet point of like, here's what I like, here's what I don't like. It's like, this is a really, you're adding value. It's cool, and I think that's the way people can ingratiate themselves to other people. I mean, I've had Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, and people like that respond to emails I've sent to them. And, usually 1 or 2 words, but it's because I emailed them something of value, and I wouldn't waste their time with, like, here's what I'm doing, or whatever, like, just short little things like, hey, I'll send Jeff Bezos an email when he launches something like the Kindle, and just say, like, hey, congratulations on this. It's very cool.
So just by way of as validating, it took me a year and a half to get a meeting with Reid Hoffman. Yeah. And he's just been one of the people I've always looked up to. I've always thought it's incredible. Yeah. And I literally, I'm not joking, I'm not even slightly exaggerating, I emailed him over the course of a year and a half at least 60 times. Right. And I probably called him, and he called me back once in between in the airport, and he was just so nice. Yeah. And called him maybe 10 times. And one of the things that I always tell people is, in business, if someone doesn't get back to you, you've got to always just keep following up. It's different when you're dating. All right. So if you ask a girl out and she doesn't get back to you, like leave her alone. In business, if you ask a CEO out and he or she doesn't get back to you, keep asking and don't mix the two up, because that's a recipe for disaster.
I think it's like that. What was that scene from Swingers? Was it Swingers, where he calls the girl after he meets her
8 times?
Like 8 times. Pull out that clip. That clip's hysterical. That's how not to do it. If you're trying to ingratiate yourself to somebody, that's how not to do it. But if you send them a nice email and you're helpful, I always find that if your email talks about them and something they're doing, it's going to catch their interest, But also brevity is
so that's actually
very
really important. One of the biggest mistakes people make, I think, when they are trying to meet somebody new, is that they talk about themselves.
Right.
Don't talk about yourself. Talk about the other person.
Absolutely. It's much more interesting to say, like, oh, I read your blog post about this. I agree. I disagree. This is something you might want to take a look at. Just like it's like sort of like this general being an interesting person. Yeah. As opposed to being like pushy, overbearing, like self-centered person.
Yeah. It's like one of those old cheesy sales slogans. You'll always be interesting if you're interested.
Ah, I like that. Okay, also I forgot to thank Will Lisak, L-I-S-A-K. How do you think we pronounce that? Lysak? Okay. Will Lysak did this opening. Can we play the opening one more time? This is a fan-created opening. He just tweeted it to me yesterday.
Like we always do with this time, I go for mine.
It'd be really nice.
I get to shine. Now throw your hands up in the sky. Go for mine. I get to shine. Now throw your hands up in the sky.
Is that your club song? Is that the song that you just get down to?
That's the club.
When you're in the song?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You get your
a little Kanye, of course, to set the mood. All right, so let's go on to the news section. We have a new person reading the news. Amanda Coulong, not Cooling, but Coulong is here. So do we have the Amanda slide? Look at that. Whoa. Amanda Coulong. Now the news. Here we go. I like the slide. Very nice. Wow. All right. So welcome to the program, Amanda.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming in. Do we have Amanda's camera set up? There she is. And I'm sure she has her own shot. So we'll see if we frame that correctly here on This Week in Startups in the studio. No? Okay. So, Amanda, tell us, who are you? How do you wind up here?
Wow.
Because we've met briefly, I think, at a
Yeah.
party or something. I was probably, as Jason would say, my guarded self and didn't give you anything. You
I'm
probably
never going to hear the end of this. And now
Yeah,
I'm
you'd have
like,
no
ever.
idea where you stand with me. But
You had, Tyler right there, and Mark, and the gang, and your table.
Okay.
And
Where was this?
well, we saw each other after the Geek Out event, when we all went out to dinner.
Where was this?
It was down
Geek
the
Out?
street. Shira's event that she did with Two Filter.
Okay.
Saw you briefly at dinner then.
Got it.
And I've been here for Bar Camp.
Oh, right. We had Barcamp here. Very cool. And so you do hosting for TechZulu?
Yes, I'm the chief correspondent at TechZulu.
Zulu. Z-U-L-U.
Yes.
And tell us what TechZulu is.
We are.
For people who don't know.
Sure. Well, it actually started when technology began to percolate a bit more in Los Angeles.
Right.
And it actually began as an experiment through MedMania. And it began with Efren Toscano going to the different technology events with a little handheld camera saying, look, technology is happening here, and we want to start covering the names and faces of technology in LA.
Right.
And it grew from there into more of a real news organization to specifically cover tech here.
Awesome. Well, there's a lot of tech going on in LA.
Yeah.
And so you have the news.
I do
And so
indeed.
do you have a first news story for Jason and I?
Well, I think the first news story for everyone is the Facebook vanity URLs, because we're looking at 9:01 p.m. tonight. You can secure Jason Calacanis.
That would be if
Or
I hadn't
actually-
already secured that months ago.
Would you have Jason Calacanis or Jason?
Exactly.
I have Jason Calacanis. I asked for
do?
Jason.
Okay.
But if you go to facebook.com/Jason Calacanis, you'll actually see
Here we go.
my promotion for Twist today. And so you can already go to that. But yes, this is a good idea, and it signifies Facebook wanting to be in SEO results more than anything.
Right.
I mean, if you do a search for your name, you get this weird kind of URL. It's not easy.
Numbers and letters.
Yeah, so they're basically, I don't know why they didn't start with this to begin with, but I think the initial idea was Facebook was going to be more closed, and you had to be logged in, and you had, well, I mean, originally you had to have a .edu,
Right.
then you had to be logged in to see anything, and you can only see your friends' stuff, and then they sort of open up the stream a little bit, because Twitter's eating a little bit of their lunch and drinking their milkshake, and now this is sort of like, okay, I'm going to be able to, it's going to be totally turned Facebook inside out.
So do you think they should have charged for it?
Yeah.
No, Facebook has plenty of money and plenty of ways to make money. I think charging the users would be a signal that maybe may feel a little desperate to charge the users. They don't need to charge the users. There's enough advertising out there in the world. There's enough ways for them to make money. They're going to launch a PayPal competitor. They've got all kinds of ways to make money. I don't think they need to do that. But it is very cool. It's a little bit of a land grab, and it basically is another step in Facebook trying to out-Twitter Twitter,
Right.
I think, more than anything. What do you think, Jason?
I think your point's very well taken. They actually rank right now already for your name in SEO, so I think it's a little. It will improve their ranking by having the URL match what's in the H1 tag and title tag. But I think your point's a good one. I thought for a while whether they should charge it, but they're going to find some exponential formula way to make money.
There's plenty of ways for them to make money, and also this is makes it a lot easier to put it on your business card. And they're probably seeing people at parties or whatever giving out business cards with twitter.com/Jason Nazar or whatever.
Twitter, did you see Compete came out with Twitter stats? It looks like for the first month, Twitter's slowing down a little bit.
Yeah.
Growth.
That would make sense. I mean, you cannot keep up that growth pace when you're on Oprah and CNN every night for a week. I mean, that kind of media exposure drives a lot of traffic. There's no way to keep that up. So it would make sense that they flatten out a little bit, and then they'll pop again. But it probably, if the curve was supposed to be moving like that, it probably went, and it will just go like that, and then go to the next level. So I don't think it's going to be that big of an issue, but look for facebook.com/name on business cards soon.
Yeah. On a card near you.
On a card near you. So good. They've caught up to MySpace in 1999.
Exactly.
Next story.
Exactly.
Congratulations, Zuck.
Well, next story, iPhone, Palm Pre.
Yeah.
Is Palm Pre going to rival the iPhone? What's the deal there?
I play with the Palm Pre. Who gave it to me? When I was at the TechCrunch party yesterday, Peter Pham had one from Bill Shrink. When is Peter Pham going to be on the show? Can we get that set up?
I think it's 2 weeks away.
2 weeks? Okay. Peter Pham from Bill Shrink will be on, but he had one. I like it because it's got the big screen
Right.
and the keyboard. So it's sort of a nice balance between the big screen of the iPhone, so it's got this big screen, and you push it up and you've got a full keyboard like a BlackBerry, which is what I've been hoping Steve Jobs would relent and just put a keyboard on the goddamn iPhone, which he won't, or just allow somebody to plug a keyboard into the bottom of it would be fine too. I mean, there's a million, he could just let it go and give people a keyboard, but he doesn't have the ability to do that. I don't think it's enough to make people switch, to be honest. I think Palm's sort of dead, so yeah, unless they made that phone super cheap. But it's nice to see that they're pushing the envelope. I think BlackBerry is actually the big winner.
Yeah.
The screen resolution on the new BlackBerry is extraordinary.
I'm still a BlackBerry user.
Yeah, and the BlackBerries are getting cheaper now, so they're giving cheaper BlackBerries to people. So I don't think Palm's going to make much of a run at it. But I'm open-minded to it because they are pretty technically savvy people, and they for a first product of this new management team, it's pretty buttery. I have to say, it's pretty buttery.
Well, thinking of the Pre though, how are Mike and Leo doing now?
Yeah, well, that's interesting. Do we have the remix? This is a good time to cheer up the remix.
3, 2, 1. I have a Pre.
Think for one fucking second.
Love it. Hold on.
Are you professional or not?
That's BS, and I'm really pissed off that you implied it.
Did you pay for the
The
pre?
1 week review
Give
unit.
me a fucking answer.
Did you pay for the pre?
No.
I don't think he's being serious.
What don't you understand?
Free. It's quite impressive.
Hold on. Did you pay for the pre?
Please make my dream come true. No.
But you are such a troll. Free.
I don't think he's being serious.
I'm not kidding.
I love it. Shut the fuck up.
Screw
What are
you.
you gonna do about it?
I'm gonna fucking kick your.
Did you pay for the pre?
Shut up for a second, all right?
Let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Mike Arrington. Such a troll. Before we do, I want to mention audible.com.
What the are you doing?
Did you pay for the
All right, well, that's a start. I saw Steve Gilmore. I was on This Week in Tech. There is an interesting issue about access to these devices and who gets access and when. Walt Mossberg and David Pogue they get early access to Apple products. Nobody else does. Some people get the Palm before other people. There's a very large group of people who consider themselves worthy now, and they are. Leo shouldn't have thrown them off the air. That was kind of weird, but it was also kind of funny.
Yeah.
So, and it's nice to see Leo actually care about something so much. But Mike Arrington has a unique way of getting under people's skin. It's sort of his trademark is to grind people a little bit and to rib them. He's not quite a bully in the schoolyard, but he's like the funny guy at the table who he would be perfect for doing a roast, like Comedy Central roast. He just knows how to get at you. I mean, we're business partners and we fight. And he will give me a hard time about stuff when we're picking companies for TechCrunch 50 or whatever. So he's a unique personality. Then you have on the other end of the spectrum, Leo, who is the nicest guy in the world, who, has tremendous integrity. And what this actually did was bring up a good discussion of free products to bloggers and disclosure and that kind of stuff. Leo's always disclosed. He never accepts products. But there's other people who do accept products. And, people who get things ahead of time, and then it's a little bit of an advantage. But you're basically going to rise and fall with the reputation that you earn as a journalist. And if you do silly things like Julie Allison, who's not really a journalist but a web personality, took a free trip to where?
Mexico? No.
SeaWorld.
Right.
And she's like, did like a pay-per post, go to SeaWorld thing, and it was like, you know what? Hard to get taken seriously. And then people go, oh my God, Jason, but you do speaking gigs and people fly you and pay you. I mean, I donate to charity, but so then they have a good point, like, oh my God, if you're speaking.
Don't they send people to SeaWorld as punishment now? Is that like really a free
I don't know.
trip
And then
kind of
she's
thing?
commenting, and the crazy thing about the Julie Allison thing is she's like commenting on like, is this polar bear is playing with a cardboard box and this tiny thing, and like Julie Allison is now the, who PETA or something, you know, like the spokesperson for animal cruelty and discussing it with SeaWorld. It's like, it just proves how poorly that model of sponsorship works. Like the social media, pay-per-post, pay-per-junket model works because the people who are going to do it are the people with the least credibility. Like Julie Alice doesn't have some tremendous credibility in
So do you think Leo,
animal rights.
Do you think Leo though overreacted, or do you think it was an appropriate reaction to what Mike?
Oh, it was clearly. I mean, Leo said he overreacted. I mean, throwing everybody off the air and taking your ball and going home. But I like it. Actually, I thought it was great because it was like,
great
you know
entertainment.
what? Somebody's got to stand up to Mike Arrington at some point, and Mike was being Mike, and I thought it was just funny. So yeah, of course he overreacted.
More
of course
people are
Mike,
talking about it now, right? So
absolutely, and people are like, oh my God, is it a setup? It wasn't a setup, but I have quit the Gilmore Gang before. Everybody quits the Gilmore Gang. Everybody gets fired from the Gilmore Gang. It's an ongoing saga. The Gilmore Gang is a mess of a podcast. I don't know why anybody listens to it, if anybody listens to it. I've always been convinced that there's only 50 listeners. But did you listen to the Gilmore Gang? Did you used to listen to the Gilmore Gang?
I mean, it wasn't my evening drive home listen, but I've listened to them, and I think Steve's a really smart guy.
Steve's brilliant. Yeah. But it's just that show. I mean, Leo did make the right point that the show brings out sort of not the worst in people, but it brings out a raw hostility, unfiltered.
But Mike's the person that makes the show. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of people telling their opinions of what's going on in tech. You need to have some controversy in people.
Yeah, there's always a little bit. There's always
with Rosie O'Donnell and Whoopi Goldberg and.
Yeah, I guess so. So I guess that makes Leo the Barbara Wawa of the internet, and that makes Mike Arrington the Rosie O'Donnell of the internet.
Who would you be?
Is that what we just said?
I think
Who
so.
would I be?
I think we did.
Of The View?
No, of the TV personalities.
Who would I be of the TV person? That's a good question. Who, the Conan O'Brien? If I get this to stick up a little more, I could be Conan O'Brien.
Yeah, I think Conan works.
I could do a little Conan or something, maybe a little Conan.
Yeah.
All right, next story.
Microsoft is discontinuing MS Money. They announced it on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And they're not going to refund people that just bought it either.
That sounds like a class action lawsuit ready to happen, but I think, well, if they still get value from the software, do they need to be refunded? I mean, if you bought Microsoft Word and then they don't make Microsoft Word, you still can use Microsoft Word, so maybe...
True. And that's what they're saying.
Yeah, I think that's okay, but I mean, the issue is, if you do, charting of people's financing, and then you have things like, Bank of America or, I don't know, all these different banks have really sophisticated intranets now.
Right.
Why would you even need to use this? So essentially, there you go, Microsoft Money, the financial suite. Wow. So I guess this goes into the Deadpool. Taurus. Hey, Taurus. Take it. Sit. Sit. Taurus. Take. You got to get Taurus. Taurus, take it. Take it. Taurus, take it. Take it, Taurus. Put it in the Deadpool. Grab, put it in the Deadpool. Good boy, put it in the Deadpool. Good boy! Yes! He did it! Good boy! Good boy! You put it in the Deadpool! Yeah! Oh boy. That was just epic. So, that Mint is doing a better job at it. And there's been reports that Microsoft's thinking about buying Mint. But even Microsoft can only focus on so many things. If it's a dud, you might as well get rid of it.
Exactly.
I mean, there's a lot of things in the Deadpool. You can, of course, remember Jimmy Wales putting Wikia search in the Deadpool. He gave up. So even people like Microsoft sometimes have to move on to do bigger and better things. Obviously, they've got Bing, the Zune 2.
Right.
And this is actually, I have to tell people about Microsoft. Do not underestimate Microsoft. Zune, everybody's like, wah, not a great product. Zune 2, pretty sweet looking. HD, like beautiful looking device. Xbox, everybody's like, that's never going to be anything. Xbox 360 now is rocking.
Is it just me, or all their new products sound like a little caption in a cartoon bubble for Batman?
Pow! Yeah. Zim!
Zing! Zoom! Like, who are the random
who's naming these things? Kapow! The new version of
It's like Stan Lee in some room like, I got a great name for your next product.
Yeah. We've got this new, the new version of Windows. Windows 7 is actually kapow. Yeah. Windows 7. I mean, they've got competition. It wasn't working out. It's not their focus. And I think that, you've got Quicken over here, and then you've got things like Mint.
Right.
They're getting it from all sides. And if you talk about bundling, right, people are saying, oh, Windows now and the EU is not letting them put the browser in it, which is a little bit silly, I think. To be honest, they're overreacting.
Right.
And who cares if they have a browser in the operating system? I mean, Mac going to have to take their browser out of their operating system too?
Yeah.
I mean, it's sort of like, really? I mean, you can see the free market worked out the browser issue. Like, IE has lost tremendous market share to the other browsers because they're better. There's a little bundling issue, but the banks are bundling these services now. So are you going to say to the banks they can't bundle the software, to track your finances with it? I mean, this is where antitrust stuff gets a little bit, like absurd. Like we spent billions of dollars on this Microsoft case. To what end? Like Microsoft can get the ass kicked just like everybody else. Google can get the ass kicked like everybody else. Google has. Google will. I mean, Bing comes out of the gate as a great product.
A lot of good talk around Bing right now.
It's a good product. I mean, I think if you look at Microsoft Live Search was like a 2, and Bing is like an 8. Hey, Google's still a 9, but they covered a lot of ground. And if I'm at Google right now, I'm looking at that going, they weren't even in the rearview mirror, and now they're like on your bumper. Like, I get worried.
Objects may be closer than they appear.
Correct. Moving on, next story. I like this one. It's good.
Thank you.
Keep going, Amanda.
Web 2.0 has been named the 1 millionth English word. Do you think that was planned? I think that was planned.
How about tweet? I mean, do
I
something.
know. Why Web 2.0?
Whose dictionary is this?
It's the Global Language Monitor.
Global Language Monitor.
Apparently, they track these words, and there were the 3 leading up to it were Jai-Ho, Noob, and Slumdog. Web 2.0.
What are they doing this in? Web 2.0
word.
came out 7 years ago. Slumdog was 2 years ago.
They're claiming that Web 2.0 was more of a technical term, and that now it's crossing into the mainstream.
No, it never crossed into the mainstream. I've never heard anybody say it in mainstream.
No.
That's idiotic.
No.
So who cares?
So there's that.
There you go. Next story.
Next story, rumors of MySpace layoffs. 25% possibly of their staff.
Probably true.
Okay.
I don't have any inside information.
Okay. Inside sources say about...
I don't know anything, but that would make a lot of sense to me. Unfortunate for the people who work there, it's terrible, but they did get a little bit big, and the traffic is getting smaller. The revenues are definitely going to get smaller because the Google deal is going to end at some point.
In 2010.
Yeah, so they have to get focused. And you know what? What are there, 1,500 people or something working over there? And,
Well, I'm hiring .NET developers, so I don't know that I can take 25% of their staff.
No, but I have a feeling they could right-size that business and maybe focus on their core business and do better. So I think there's no shame in right-sizing the company, and if they're going to do it, they should do it quickly and efficiently so that they can move on and get focused on building great product again.
Yeah.
And I have to say, a lot of people talk about Owen Vednata. Nice guy. He's been in the business. He worked at Facebook, obviously. But I think the real killer they got there is Mike Jones, who's a really good product guy who did Userplane.
On the board of Docstoc.
Yep.
Oh, he's on the board of Docstoc? I mean, he's a really smart guy. I think actually that's really going to be the game changer is if Mike Jones can get his product people in there and he can lead that product team. And I guess he's got Jason Oberfest, is that his name?
It's not. Jason Oberfest is in BizDev.
In BizDev.
Yeah.
But then there's another guy.
There's another Jason that came, I think, from
what's his name?
MTV. No.
Yeah. So they got another guy with product as well. I don't know him as well, but I do know.
Well, Mike's a superstar, and if anybody.
Michael Jones is a superstar, and I think
yeah.
he understands the MySpace culture, and he's an LA guy, so he's probably got a lot of connections here, a lot of good developers. So I actually think, I hate to take over, I wouldn't take that job, because taking over a project when it's peaked means you're basically going to be responsible for the ride down, and there may not be anything you can do about that inevitability,
right.
Which means they've got to ride it all the way down to its natural, plateau and then try to build it back up. That's going to be like a 3 to 5 year process.
Yeah, but if somebody came to you and said, we want you to be the guy that saves GM, the biggest brand, if someone came to you and said, we want you to be the guy that saves the biggest brand on the web,
example.
that wouldn't get your competitive juices flowing?
No,
really?
I would rather... Nobody working the TriCaster?
Are they going to do
Anybody
like
watching the cameras on the TriCaster, Alex?
Are you going to do a little layover with like Zing or Zune or Bing, like when that goes
No,
on?
I'd rather run Tesla than run GM. Of course, I'd rather run a new car company than deal with all that nonsense of people who. Yeah, no, I would. But that's me personally.
Yeah.
Who wants to go inherit 1,500 employees, half of which are going to lose their jobs, a large portion of which are really disenfranchised, disconnected from the business?
But you're also going to save thousands of jobs, and you're going to have a chance for folks that have made a large investment to make that a win for them. And I think you'd agree that it's a lot better for the web ecosphere if Facebook's got a main competitor.
I
If
agree.
left to their own devices without another
all of that is
competitor,
true.
Yeah.
I still wouldn't take the job. Absolutely not. Would you take that job?
Yeah, I would.
Okay.
I don't think I'm qualified for it by any means, but
Right.
if someone came to me and said, hey, we want you to be the guy that turns around MySpace, and I wasn't doing anything else, like, yeah, I jump on that.
I got a lot of respect for the team that's doing it. God bless them. I don't think I could take that gig on because it's basically every day you're coming in to clean up. It's like Obama taking over after Bush, you know, like what a disaster. Although maybe is Obama having a good time, I guess, maybe.
I have a feeling you'd take over for Obama's job if you got offered it.
I would take over for Obama.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah. I don't know about that local politics thing. I don't know who told you I'm involved in that, but okay. So should we do homework?
Are your dogs mauling each other? What's
Yeah,
going on?
they're having fun.
Are they? Can you guys hear the dogs on the
If
audio?
I give a bad
Are the
answer, are you going to
dogs?
stick them on me? What's going on?
Yeah, it's
I don't
kinda
think people
dangerous
can hear
in
the
there.
dogs, can they?
I think
With these
MS Money is
microphones?
definitely gone now.
What happened in there? Oh my God! What did they do to that
I think one of Jason's
They're ripping
dogs
the-
just
they're
ate the
ripping
other
that-
one.
thing apart? Oh God.
Fondue actually is fondue for...
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so Fondue is in there. Way to go, Fondue in the depth pool. She likes the pool, actually. We should fill it with water next time and let the dogs play in the water.
Oh, wow.
All right, let's
With
move
all,
on.
wait, let's think this through. You want in a room full of electrical equipment and cameras,
Absolutely.
full of pool of water, and then let your dogs go in and out.
It's electric.
Exactly.
That idea may have to go to the
All
dead
right,
pool.
let's go to the homework segment since we're running out of time, and I want to make sure we get to homework. Here is the homework section. You can see we have a huge Photoshop budget here. There's me wondering. Oh, there's the school bell. Let's see if somebody did their homework. I'm going to get the phone back here. This is a homework segment. We have segments on the show. We have the Ask Jason, we have news, Deadpool, and we have homework. So here we go. Nothing. Okay, one more time. Send him over. Sorry if I disconnected him by accident.
Good job.
And I'm wondering, can you guys hear the dogs panting and going crazy? Let me know if you hear Taurus and Fondue.
Well, the panting's Tyler.
Yes.
But
In fairness.
yeah, in all fairness.
Oh, look at this. We have, here's our caller, is just tweeting, so I can go get the call. Okay, here we go. So, dude. Hello, you're live on This Week in Startups. Is this Tall Todd 65?
Yes, it is.
Hey, Tall
How you
Todd
doing?
65. Thanks for coming on the program. We've been trading tweets a whole bunch. Is that picture of you on your Twitter stream actually you?
No, it's not.
So you are not as punk rock as your avatar.
Someone's licking my toe.
That's right.
Who is your avatar? I'm zooming it in here. Who is that?
That's actually Eddie Vedder.
Oh, okay. It's Eddie Vedder with a mohawk. Very cool.
Yeah, Pearl Jam fan.
Oh, okay. Very good. Now, I understand you did your homework and you watched the film Deep Water.
Yes, I did. I enjoyed it.
And you enjoyed it. So, first question. What, as entrepreneurs, can we take away from the story of Deep Water?
I think the first thing is to have the dream, and if you have the dream, it's something you need to be willing to go all in with.
Correct. Right. And what else can we learn from this film? And from the protagonist in the film?
I think
Donald Crowhurst. And I just want to let people
Right.
know, if you did not see Deep Water, there are going to be spoilers during the homework session, because we're going to be talking about it. This is homework. Have you guys seen the film Deep Water? Did you not do your homework?
La 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 la.
Amanda didn't do her homework. What about you, Jason? Did you do your homework? You didn't see Deep Water, did you?
I have not seen
All right. Well,
Deep
you're since you guys didn't do your homework, you stay after class, and you're gonna watch Deep Water, and then you're gonna have to make up the homework because we have a new homework assignment this week. But let's get back to our caller here. What can we take from Donald Crowhurst, pro and con? What are the things that as an entrepreneur he did that you can learn from, both pro and con?
I think on the pro side, he definitely, saw an opportunity and seized it.
Yes.
He definitely was not like a kid that was dreaming since 8 years old to be a sailor, but there was an opportunity for him to promote himself and to save his small business through joining this contest.
Right.
And I think on the negative side is he went all in, but he went a little bit too far in.
That's right.
He,
So
he started doing fraudulent activity essentially and cheating.
Right.
And not maybe using the support system that he had behind him.
Exactly. Perfect. You got an A+ on your homework. This is exactly what we can learn from Donald Crowhurst. He saw an opportunity, he went after it, he was going to sail around the world in this competition he had no business being in, which is what an entrepreneur should do. They should do things that they have no business doing, they should dream big, and then he got out there, and then he realized he was in over his head, which every entrepreneur by definition should be in over their head. The guys at MySpace are in over their head, Zuckerberg's in over his head, the Evan Williams and the Twitter team, they're in over their head. If you're not in over your head, you're not pushing hard enough, correct, Jason?
Absolutely.
So he got in over his head, and then what did he do? He started to cheat. And then what did he start to do? He killed himself. Sorry for the spoiler, everybody who didn't see the film.
That's not quite the exit plan that you look for.
That's not the exit. If you didn't do your homework, then you don't deserve to. And I told you there's a spoiler alert. Anyway, or possibly killed himself. Well, who the hell knows what happened on that boat when he was out there trying to solo sail around the world, went crazy, lied in his logbooks, and started cheating, and then basically couldn't handle it and quit and killed himself. Not dissimilar than Jimmy Wales with Wikia Search. But at least Jimmy didn't kill himself. But
I think we have the plot of the song for you to sing for your opening musical for TechCrunch.
It's not that I dislike the guy. I'm making an analogy between Donald Crowhurst failing and Jimmy Wales failing. There's an analogy there somewhere. So rate the film 1 to 10. What did you think of the film?
I'd probably give it an 8.
An 8, which is a pretty good score. And what else can you take away from the film? What else did you like about the film as an entrepreneur? Was it inspiring? Was it troubling? Did it keep you up at night? I mean, you saw the film a couple days ago. How often have you been thinking about it? Did the film stay with you? Tell me a little bit about the impact of the film on you.
Yeah, I think it's been about a week since I watched the film, and I was unaware of this story, so that was very interesting from the get-go. But the ending definitely was a surprise, and I was a little bit disturbed by that, having been a part of startups before that have imploded. And when the phone starts ringing and the creditors start calling and you start considering your options, that's one you hope you don't have to consider.
Yeah, let me be clear to people who are having a tough time. In all seriousness, things can go bad as an entrepreneur. Things can seem hopeless. It's a disaster. You're financially ruined. Everything's ruined. You know what? You live in the United States. It doesn't matter. You just give up, and then you start again the next day. So do not do anything stupid like kill yourself over your business going bad. Certainly don't go shoot up the place like some people do. I mean, people lose their cool when things go bad, and you have to stay cool, and you never get high on your own supply. That's Scarface rule number 1. Mm-hmm. And if you get in over your head and it seems terrible, go use your support system. Go talk to your friends and say, hey, listen, I screwed up. It's a disaster. What do they do? If you have friends, they should help you out. And go find a landing for yourself and go work somewhere. But don't get so deep in that you start cheating or stealing or lying or doing anything dishonest. Don't lose your character. And you can always tell how good a person is as an entrepreneur by how they behave during the down market and when things go bad. That's when you need to stand up the most. That's when you need to be the most ethical. That's when you need to be the strongest and the most resilient. And resiliency is the most important thing for an entrepreneur. It's great to be crazy and delusional. That's an asset. But you also have to be responsible and ethical. And that's what we learned from this story of Deep Water. Tall Todd, what do you do? You're an entrepreneur, I take it.
Yeah, I'm an entrepreneur. Right now, I'm an engineering manager for a large software company.
Great.
But it's honestly the first company I've ever worked for that has not been a startup. So I definitely like what you're doing there with the show.
Yeah, you've been thinking about getting back in the game, haven't you?
we've all had our fun sleeping under the desk, and sometimes you want to do that, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Well, hopefully your boss isn't listening and you just get fired. But if Todd Hartle's boss is listening, I apologize. Maybe you should invest in his next company.
And don't go kill yourself.
Right.
And definitely, if things go bad, do not kill yourself, entrepreneurs. Do not go off the grid. Do not get crazy. It's all one big game. It's one big fun thing we call life. If you fail, who cares? It's like a video game. You put another quarter in the machine, you start over, you get 3 more lives. Don't take it so seriously.
Well, don't say 3 more lives, though, because then that implies you can lose this.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know what I'm saying. You get more swings at bat. It's not the end of the world. Michael Jordan lost a lot of games before he won a championship, obviously. So thanks a lot, and hopefully you'll do the next assignment. And we'll talk to you soon. Keep watching the show. And if you find yourself in San Francisco, September 14th and 15th, can we get our pal here maybe a ticket to the old TechCrunch 50 conference? Is that possible? Alex, you can do that? Hey, where are you based?
I'm in Atlanta, but San Francisco is one of my favorite cities, so any excuse to go out there,
You want to come to TechCrunch 50 and be Jay Cal's guest?
I would love to.
All right, so September 14th and 15th, book one of those Virgin America tickets. I don't know, do they fly to Atlanta, Virgin America?
I don't think they're here yet, but, you know.
I love the Virgin America. How come Virgin America is not fun? I keep talking about them relentlessly. Virgin America, if you're watching, somebody Twitter Virgin America and tell them how dare them not sponsor the show, since we talk about them. But they have Wi-Fi. It's incredible. So fly to New York or D.C. and then go to San Francisco. Take a little puddle jumper. And we'll see you September 14th and 15th in San Francisco for TechCrunch 50.
Pretty cool.
Thanks, Jason.
All right, we'll talk to you soon. Cheers, bye.
I think if you keep giving away to every person, you're not gonna get any person getting through on that phone line. I'm pretty sure you're gonna have
what's
packed
the phone line here? Can I get the phone?
You
Can you put on the courtesy monitor? Can I get the phone number for the studio?
Do you want the direct or do you want to put a name?
I'll take it. I guess to you would be good. Yeah, put your phone number up there. Okay, good. All right, and so next week's homework assignment.
If we do our homework, do we get to go with you too?
To TechCrunch 50?
Yeah. We're gonna go
Well, you
anyway,
might be
but-
pressed anyways.
Yeah.
So next week's homework assignment, another documentary film. We're going to do 2 films, but homework could be a book, right, Tyler?
Yeah.
Or it could be going to a conference, or it could be reading a blog post or a magazine article. There's many different homeworks we're going to have. This week's homework is to see the following film. I'm not going to say it. Let's just cut right to the trailer.
Why did you do this? There is no why.
I dream of conquering beautiful stages. It was not a dream anymore. It was tangible. The whole plan was in the making. We want to succeed. We don't want to fail.
It was a very ambitious pursuit. It just sounded like a really fun adventure.
The basic plan was very simple.
I knew there was going to be a team in each tower.
We had ID cards. Fear was in the air. I assumed that we were all going to be arrested.
Everybody was going to die.
If I die, what a beautiful death. And I know my fate has been written now. This is probably the end of my life. Now I'm going to perform.
I saw this thing falling down, and I said to myself, he might be dead.
The awe of the event, it was magical, profound.
Everybody was spellbound in the watching of it. Figured I was watching something that somebody else would never see again in the world.
There is somebody out there in a tightrope walk between the 2 towers of the World Trade Center. Right at the tippy top.
Man on Wire. Have you seen this documentary yet? 2 documentaries back to back. Both of them will be life-changing. Both of them teach different lessons, but we have a theme going here. Insane people doing insane things with different outcomes. And you need to see Men on Wire. And we're going to talk about it next week. And if you're the person who gets called on for their homework, you're going to get a free ticket to TechCrunch 50, September 14th and 15th in San Francisco. Correct. Did any of you guys see Man on Wire?
No.
Not yet?
No, not yet.
Are you guys going to do your homework for next week?
Definitely. No spoilers.
All
no
right.
more spoilers.
All right, very good. Okay, and we have another news story, I guess?
We have one more.
One more.
The Army has ordered bases to stop blocking Twitter, Facebook, and Flickr.
So if you're in the Army, you can see Facebook and Twitter now, and other social networks. So we're going to let the service people who are fighting to defend our freedom communicate with their families and see their family photos.
Finally.
All right, I just want to say,
though.
whoever made this decision previously, you're an idiot.
I think it fell under the don't tweet, don't tell.
Don't tweet, don't tell.
Don't tweet, don't tell.
Well, you know why they made the decision though. They didn't want there to be news sources. They wanted to be able to control the news coming out.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
But you know what? People can write letters. There's a million ways people can break the thing. You have to trust that people are going to do the right thing. You have to trust your people. This is an important lesson for entrepreneurs. The company here, I love my team. Honestly, I tell them everything. I have for 2 years. Tell them who I'm meeting with investors, who our potential investors are, strategic partners, features we're coming out with, show them 2-year roadmap. I share everything all the time in real time. I'll be in a meeting, I'll leave the meeting and say, by the way, meeting with X company, top 10 company in the world, was incredible. Here's what they said about our product. And it never, ever, ever leaks. Ever. And if you show that level of trust with your company, explain to them why it's in their best interest to not leak information, and you're honest with people. Nobody wants to do stuff like that to a leader who they appreciate. And if you hire every single one of the people in your company and you have dinner with them and lunch with them, they're not going to do that to you. It's a sign of a failure of leadership when people leak information. It means you have people who are no longer believe in the mission, who would rather give the information to ValueAg or somebody else than keep it internally. So their alignments are not.
The interesting thing with this, though, is that it does not overturn the military-wide ban on sites like MySpace or YouTube and Pandora.
So they can't go to those sites, or they can't participate on those sites?
They can't participate in those specific types of sites because that's a military-wide ban, but yet the Army is now allowing them to have access to things like a Facebook or,
Well, there is an issue, because I have a friend who is a ranger. And he told me he can't log into these services because there are people following from other. He's like a serious, high-level guy.
Right.
Like, literally took the airport in Baghdad. Before the war was. I don't know if I should be saying this, but anyway, before the war was announced, he was in Iraq.
You're leaking information about your
Literally in Iraq before the war started. Anyway, that's from what I hear. Anyway. It's crazy stories, but which you can't tell me all of them. But the issue is, if they log in, then they know that this person is in this area. So deployments, like when he tells me stories when he comes back, I don't know where he's going. I don't even know that he's gone. But there are people who would very much like to kidnap that level of person. So there is a security concern of you're twittering from the front line. It's like, we know that IP address is here, or we know that this person's in the thick of it. So they are, Al-Qaeda guys are, and those kind of people are watching online services. It's quite conceivable, I know this sounds like some insanely stupid cartoon or something, that they could take somebody's tweet or Facebook and know where they're located and that we have operatives in that area. All it takes is somebody to have a couple drinks in them and make a mistake and say, yeah, I'm in the Kuwait border, and then all of a sudden, or I'm in North Korea, or I'm on a reconnaissance mission in this area of China that's on the border of North Korea, and all of a sudden, North Korea knows that we have people who are on the border of North Korea. I'm not saying that that's going on. Yeah, exactly. Status. Tracking Kim Jong-il, not good. So, anyway, it's a complicated issue. It's not one.
Take the photo of BIMPAP, and it might be North Korean. BIMPAP, then you know.
Bibimbap.
But if we could get Osama bin Laden tweeting, that would really help.
The real, you mean
that
the real?
That would help if he could get on there. I mean, we would be able to get him in.
Oh no, he's on there. The real Obama.
Is Twitter going to do verified?
Osama.
Yeah, you can verify.
Is it verified yet?
Obama. I think there's a real. Where is it? The real
Osama bin Laden.
There's a real Osama.
Really beautiful cave. This one has 2 views outside.
Yeah.
No, there is a real Osama on Twitter. I know that for a fact.
He was tweeting from the Khyber Pass Starbucks, I know.
Real bin Laden. That's a real _ bin Laden.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm on the mobile version of Twitter. Hold on. It's pretty funny. I think if this is him. This is real Bin Laden? Yeah. Anyway, there's a real Bin Laden, and he's actually there. Oh, look at urgent. He said he was going to be at my D-Poker game. I was talking to the real Osama. Okay, well, this has been a great episode. Thank you for reading the news. You did wonderfully.
Thank you.
Thank you, dogs, for destroying the Deadpool. Thank you. That was great.
And licking my toes.
And licking your toes. Jason, we finally got you on the program. This was great. Thank you for being so honest.
Did you count how many F-bombs you dropped?
Who?
Him.
Him? You dropped F-bombs? No. Everybody do a quick twist and rate the show. 1 to 10. What do you think of the show? How did we do? What did you like about it? So just put a number and then what you liked about it. And just put pound twist at the end. And the phone line of the studio, just right what I was about to say, is 310-593-6159. 310, we could probably put that on the screen too. 310-593-6159. If somebody calls right now, we'll take a random caller. Let's take a random caller with a question. If anybody wants to... sign of weakness in the leadership when people leak. Yeah, that's right. Okay. And make sure you all thank the sponsors. Oh, that's me. That's the message to me. Thank the sponsors. Yes. Sponsors are. But you guys have to thank the sponsors as well on Twitter. Thank at WebSpy. Thank at DNA Mail. And thank at Ustream. All of them have Twitter accounts. And when they see you guys tweet, thank you, that really matters to them because they get, they feel special. Certainly a 10 today. Wow, thank you so much, DJ Silent. DJ Silent also thanking everybody. 10, love the homework from Tim Nicoleave and Jason Nazars. They like you. Best podcast out there, 9.9 out of 10. 8.5, love the dogs. 9, good question at the start of Twist. 8.9, thanks again for playing my intro. Thank you for making it. 9 out of 10, 9 out of 10. This is great, 9 out of 10. This is we're getting a lot of good feedback this week. A lot of 9s out of 10s.
You need to bring Amanda back more often.
Oh, Jason,
I think we got a little bit of an Amanda. Something going on here I don't know about?
No, I'm saying if you're getting the best ratings of all time, I mean, come on.
You're a single guy, right?
I am.
What about you? You single? You married? What's the story?
I don't know.
Do you really think a startup CEO is a good person to date?
No.
Okay,
it's the worst person to date. Unless you're in it for the long haul. Then it could be if you support your man, and then things could turn out really well.
But no dating in the backyard kind of thing.
10 out of 10. Wow. 9.5. And the studio number, 310-593-6159. Anybody call in? Should we take a call? No call-ins yet. That's because oh, there it goes. 310-593-6159. Somebody call in with a question. Let's try this as a... We've never actually done a live call-in. 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10. Look at all these great scores. Wasn't it like a couple weeks ago people were saying 6, 7, 8?
A lot of 7s before,
It's the Jason squared effect.
I think so.
That's really what it is.
I think you guys did a good job. Yeah. And I have to get back to work. So
we have a call.
We do have a call?
Yeah.
Great.
Okay, let's take a call. Good, just send it through. It's just the end of the show. We'll probably cut this off anyway, unless it's super good. Okay, here we go. Okay, Cody.
Yep.
Cody, where are you from? What's your question?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm watching on TV. There's a little delay.
Okay.
I'm calling from Boston, and I have a question. I'm interning at a small startup company, and we're only in Boston, and I want to know, like, PR-wise, do you think it's an idea to go for, like, the best, broadest marketing campaign you can, or to stay local and trying to reach out to your, local blogs and stuff like that?
Yeah, that's a good question. What kind of product is it? I'm assuming it's a national product?
No, it's actually a service networking site is what they're calling it.
Yeah.
And it's people doing small errands for each other only in Boston.
I think local is best. Do hyper-local, in fact. Get the local blogs, get the local people who are on Twitter, get them engaged with your product, meet them, talk to them, post comments on their site. If you're involved with them authentically, like we talked about at the beginning of the show, if you missed it, you can download it in 24 hours. Get involved authentically with the local bloggers and local Twitter community. Go to meetups, bring a little card explaining what your service is, hand it to people, get a couple t-shirts. Just go out and press the flesh. Go to all the local different meetups with 5 people from your company. Everybody wear the same logo. And then if you walk around the 5 events in 5 nights with your logo, and there's 50 people at each event, you've introduced 250 people to your service, you handed them something, that could work. And people have done that many times in San Francisco to launch products, and it will definitely work.
All right, thank you so much for your advice.
Yeah, most people are afraid to get out there and sell like that, so I would say go for it. Awesome, great. Well, that worked. And we'll see you next time on This Week in Startups. Okay, that worked. It's possible we could do a live call-in show then.
Mm-hmm.
Some people would call in, and we could do a whole show just that.
Good question.
We'll see everybody next time on This Week in Startups.
Like we always do at this time, I go for mine, I get to shine. Now throw your hands up in the sky. Go for mine, I get to shine. Now